This is Art Manville. I'd like to welcome you all to the webinar. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. And joining me today, helping me out on the call, is Krista Gustafson, a premier from Oliver, BC. Hi, Krista.
Hi, how you doing?
Yeah, so I'm a little nervous about today's webinar, everybody, because I'm trying to cover some new territory. I'm going to give you some teachings, some understandings that just sort of came to me this week. That's how some of these webinars are created. They happen during conversations that I have with people, and had a very interesting conversation this week with someone we'll be talking about just a minute. And this whole idea of really, do people really understand what they're trying to create here? What is network marketing? What is a network? How do you build a network? What keeps it together? So we're going to try to get into some new territory. It's the first time that I've presented some of this info, so hopefully it's going to work out. I've asked Krista to come on kind of as a bouncing board and maybe to ask a couple questions along the way if something that I'm saying is not clear or whatever. So we're just going to get the ball rolling. Yes, that's Terry and I, recent picture at convention. I think a lot of you have seen that. We're so grateful to be involved with such a great company, incredible, caring founders, and just having a blast here, as you will. And there's another picture of me. Yeah, I'm all dressed up in my blue jeans there. I don't even have my slippers on in that picture, but we love to work at home. This is another part of our Japanese garden. All of this area of our home was all just trees. And I was getting closed in, and one day I got the idea that, I need to cut down some of these trees. I can't even hardly see the sky anymore, and I cut down the trees, and as soon as the trees were cut down, Terry says, we need to do something with that. And her whole dream and idea of her waterfall and gardens all emerged from that. So this is Krista and Terry and I in Orlando, and this is Krista with her first sampling of Glimpse here in the bottom right-hand corner. Krista, do you remember all of that? That was when we first got to really try Glimpse.
Yeah, it seems so long ago now, like it never even happened.
Yeah, I know. It's a long time ago, but really our lives have all changed. And yes, we have completed wave one, I would call, and the news at convention, if you haven't heard of it, that Aaron Garrity, our founder, said we are almost at $1.5 billion in 6 years now. So an incredible story. We have branded the mangosteen supplement. We completely dominate the mangosteen category that we created, and that we're the fastest company to $1 billion with a single product in the history of our industry. And we're just now launching wave two, what we're calling our second billion-dollar brand. And as I have said before, lots of companies come out with new products. I mean, a new product for a network marketing company can be a phone call to a manufacturer in California, and the following week, they can have a label stuck on some kind of a Me Too product, and they can develop a story around it and have it into the database and out to the distributor network within a few weeks. But when you're creating a brand, a new billion-dollar brand, I mean, there's a lot more care and attention. It takes a very spectacular new product line in order to enter into what we call a new category. It has to be really unique. It has to be doing something quite spectacular, and it has to have been never done before. You cannot create a category by copying people. Copying does not create categories. You're really trying to ride on the wings of other people's dreams when you copy. So we've had a lot of people try to copy us, but leaders always lead, and the great ones are never copied because they're always moving into the next dimension. So here we have the second billion-dollar brand, a product that is so spectacular, is creating a category within a crowded industry. And really, kudos to Beverly Hollister. Her lifetime dream of bringing a product like this to market is being realized. She's putting every drop of her intent and her effort. Every attention to detail has been taken. Every ingredient in this Glimpse product line, hand-picked, hand-selected, from scratch, one ingredient at a time. Nothing was gambled on. There was no pat formulas here. We weren't throwing xanthones into anything that was existing. This is a completely brand new, non-toxic formula that a lot of you have been trying. So what is a network? And this is a picture. I don't even know if Audrey's on here today. I couldn't even give her a warning that she was the one that kind of created this webinar. Audrey Foster here, and you can see her with Chris Jordan from the UK, and this is Audrey with Joe Morton and one of her uncles. And I actually had a three-way call this week with one of Audrey's uncles, and this whole idea came. Now, let me tell you, this is one of the best three-way calls that I have ever had. And I really apologize. I'm not very good at teaching how to do properly three-way calls. I probably should have Audrey on here to teach me, because she did the most incredible introduction to where she talked about her uncle who basically had been using the juice for a year and now was starting to look at this as a business. And she introduced her uncle, and then she introduced me. And by the time she was finished, it felt like we knew each other. And none of it was platitudes. It was all from her heart. And so there was already a connection. Before I ever spoke, there was already a connection between us. And that showed me the power of a three-way call. And because of the connection, I started to talk about network marketing in a different way. And I started to explain to him that really, ultimately, we're not really selling anything. We're building networks. And so what is a network? A network is a connection. It's something that we have in common, right? And I'm going to go into this in a minute. But what holds these connections together, we're going to talk about how do you build a network and start making these connections. But one thing we know for sure is these connections are about relationships. But first of all, let's talk about the industry a little bit. I love some of these quotes here, especially this one with Robert Kiyosaki. It's probably the most famous quote in network marketing. The richest people in the world build networks, and everyone else looks for work. So networking is the way that fortunes are made. And everybody is networking. It's just that you don't always get paid directly for your networking. And so rich people create networks by developing relationships with other wealthy people, right? I mean, this has been going on for years. And I also like what David Bach has to say. Most of us aren't doing whatever it is we were put here to do because we're living paycheck to paycheck. Most people are in survival mode. And I don't know about you, but I got sick and tired of living in survival mode, wondering how I was going to pay the next bill, and so I was looking for another way. And I like what he says here. You can lease and loan your life or buy and own your life. And creating your own business is owning your own life. And so let's talk about what network marketing is. And here's an industry definition of it. It's the exchange of information or services among individuals or groups. So part of networking is exchange of information, but specifically, it is the cultivation of productive relationships for employment or business. Isn't that hot? So how do you create a network? Obviously, you've got to have something in common. I mean, a network, by its definition, has to have some sort of a connection here, and you've got to have something in common that is bringing you together. Of course, our products are one of our great connection points, because we can take this product out to somebody and introduce it to them and start to develop a network, a connection point. And dreams can be a connection point, can't they? So there's lots of different connection points that there can, but you've got to find something in common. That's what creates a network, something that's holding it together. And so here's an example of what a potential network would look like. And when I showed this to Terry, she said, well, that looks like Zango all over the world. And in a sense, you could consider that these people here are premiers or 100Ks and stuff in various parts of the world, and some of them are connected together, and there's lots of lines that are crossing here, right? And so that's a network. So what are the connection points? There's lots of possible connection points, aren't there? And let's think about how we're going to connect our network. We can connect our network through health. A financial or time freedom is a connection point. Hey, let's build a network together. I want to fire my boss. Let's build something together. Gosh, I mean, I'm thinking about this, and I'm thinking, how often do we say to people that we're wanting to do business with, hey, why don't we go out and build this big, huge, worldwide network together and help a whole bunch of people with their health and help a whole bunch of people with their wealth and help a whole bunch of people create personal transformations? Let's make this world a better place. I mean, can you feel the energy and that kind of an intention? So a cause can be a connection point. Some people are really fired up about teaching people about all the toxins that are in cosmetics. That's a cause that people that are concerned about that cause can rally, connect one to the other, right, and create those connections. And so also health and helping people with their health is a cause in itself, right? I mean, if you're wanting to help this world have better health, that can be your cause. And so these are connection points. People's dreams are connection points. And this whole personal transformation, I mean, we are all growing in this, aren't we? And I think that can be a process that we go through together. We are growing together through our networking of experiences, through our ups and downs, our successes, our failures, you know, our doubts, our fears. We are in this network together, and so what you experience, I experience, and we're feeding each other this different energy that's going back and forth between us, you know. We're all connected here. You know, if you're in Zango, you are connected. We are connected with everybody in Zango because we have something in common. That's what a network really is. Now, let's get into networking, and then I'm going to let Krista talk a little bit here, see if I'm making sense. But let's get into another definition of networking. A network is a series of points or nodes interconnected by communication paths. Now, isn't this interesting? Obviously, a network has a lot to do with communication, isn't it? I mean, it has everything to do with communication. If there's no communication, there's no network, right? Now, you can create that connection. Let's say that you sign somebody up and you create that connection, but if you don't continue to work with that connection and communicate with that connection and follow up with that connection can easily dissipate and fall away, and then your network has started to collapse. And the number one reason that networks collapse is because there's a lack of communication, and the connection will dissipate, right? And so we're going to show you how to change that. And I love this picture, Krista. What do you think of this? This looks like your organization.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, I mean, I think this is a pretty strong organization. What are your thoughts on what you've heard so far? Any questions on what we've covered, that just things that you wanted to add or points that seemed a bit strange?
Well, I think it's just great, and I've absolutely experienced a lot of what you're talking about as we've grown over the past 3 years, and there's certain teams you'll find. If you look at your organization as a whole, there's certain teams you might be really, really strong with. Maybe you have a lot in common with certain people. Maybe you've built your relationship over time. You've gotten to know them more. And then, of course, there's other teams where you're still learning how to connect with certain individuals. Of course, we're all so different, right?
Yeah, you know, and you've done, and I think it's a good reason that you're on here because, honestly, you're the most coachable person in our downline. And you're the one that has gone out and created the most connections downline by working on follow-up. We've talked about this before. We have others that do follow-up, but I don't think anyone does it to your degree. And so if you look at this organization here, you can see which ones inherently are strong, right? These ones have a lot of connections here between them. And I like the fact that you can see how some organizations are as you get further down. Look at this organization over here, right? This could be a new organization over here, right? And this person has sponsored 3 people, and he sponsored somebody who has sponsored somebody. But look at these new people coming in over here that are sort of at the end of this network. They are not very well connected, are they? They're only connected to this one point here. They haven't met their upline. If this was the upline of this person, they haven't met this person yet in this example here. These people are not well connected. They may not stay in the network if they're not connected better here. But also, you'll see that this whole organization is quite isolated through this one connection point. This might be a leader, actually, that is such a strong leader that they created and started working downline here, helping this one strong leader build, but they haven't connected them to the rest of the group. Maybe they haven't been getting them on webinars. Maybe this is Terry and I up here, and we're doing the webinars, and they haven't connected these people. They haven't put them in our email loop, and they haven't maybe gone to an event. Maybe this is a connections created from the founders. Maybe these are founder connections. So you can really see that the more connections, the more power that they have, right? And so this is, I think, a perfect example of a network marketing organization. This person has sponsored somebody who has sponsored somebody who has sponsored somebody, and so they're getting some duplication going here, but they haven't been connected to the upline, have they? They haven't met their sponsor. This could be this guy's sponsor here, and they should be drawing lines. And so what Chris has been doing here, if you really look at her, if this is her organization here, she's been making calls down into here, and this is what Terry did in the beginning, making phone calls into these brand new people to try to create some connections down in here. Unfortunately, we didn't get enough duplication from that. Not everybody would jump on board and actually call the new people and try to create those connections. Hopefully now they'll be getting the picture here. So how do you create a network? You obviously make connections. And what I was talking to Audrey, and her uncle was the person she introduced me to, is that if you want to build a network, you just start making connections. You know? I mean, we're making a list. When we make a list, we're making a list of people that we've decided to make a connection with, right? And that connection is made. Now, in Audrey's example here, all that was made in that connection was her uncle got on the juice and enjoyed the juice for a year. But now he showed a business interest, and so she's smart enough to know that to create a business interest here, I need to create more connections with my uncle. And so she introduced him to me. I don't know who else she introduced him to. She might have brought him out to an event to increase those connections. The more connections, obviously, the stronger the network. But as we have seen here, networks have to be nurtured. So I'm going to try to do something here that is really difficult to do, but I think this will give you a perfect example of what I'm talking about here. Now, hold on. I'm going to get Terry's computer on here so I can watch what is going on here. It kind of goes to sleep on me sometimes, so that I can see that this is coming out okay. But I want to show you, let's say that you have started in the business here, and this is what you look like here. That's not the one we want. We want this one. And so you sign up in the business here, right? And that's you. And you enjoying your juice, and you decide to turn this into a business, and you start to share it, and you get John on the juice here, right? And now you realize that you're wanting to create a network here, so you've got this is your sponsor over here, and so you realize that you need to connect these two together. They don't know each other right now, so you set up a three-way call, and you introduce your person to your sponsor. Now we're starting to get a network going on here, right? You also realize that there's a webinar coming up with your upline on Saturday, and you know how important it is to increase the connections in your network. So you invite, and maybe even to make sure they actually get on it, you three-way your new person onto the webinar because you want to introduce them to your upline here, and you, bango, have created another connection. And so you're building a network here. It's starting to happen, right? At the same time, you know that there's an event coming into the region here, and one of the founders, Joe Morton, is coming within an hour and a half. And you get on the phone with your new person here. You've created this connection, and now you want to get them connected with the founders. And so you do everything you can to get them out to meet the founders so that you create this other connection. So we're starting to create connections here, right? But we haven't duplicated yet. So you know that the next part, that if you want to expand this network now, is you want to help your new person sponsor somebody. And so they sponsor somebody, and you immediately, if you're not already involved on a three-way call, you immediately call that person up because now you're looking to make a connection on that person, right? And now this person is starting to duplicate, and now they have a network that they're starting to feed. And so you work together here to bring in a person for this person, and now you're creating another network, and you're connected to them. You're also going to get them out to an event over here, and you're going to get them onto the webinar. And that's how networks are created if you're smart. So that was kind of fun.
That's awesome.
Now I got to figure out how to get to the next slide. I got to escape out of this section here. So what do you think of that, Krista?
I think that's awesome. I mean, it's just, I've even noticed, I would say, I know a lot of my team members that I work closely with also go to you a lot, which I think is great because we have this, just like the triangle you started with, you know. We're all connected, and we all kind of know what so-and-so's doing and looking for different ideas from everyone. And I mean, it's just great.
Okay, now I want to look at some networks, some other kinds of networks, and give you an idea. I've had people come into our business that build networks like this. And this would be an example of somebody that sponsors people or just gets people on the juice, right? And I've had people in here that have sponsored all kinds of people, but, well, guess what? There's no network there, right? It's you and them, and there's no real network coming in here, right? And so here's a network that is starting to grow here, and you can see that this person has sponsored somebody, and they've sponsored people. And this is would be an evenly distributed network where every person here has a more than one connection, right? This person only has one connection here with that one particular person. So there's another way. So this is what happens when you sponsor a lot of people, but you don't work with these people, or you don't inspire these people, or you don't encourage these people, or give these people reasons to do this, to start sponsoring people. So how do you strengthen these connections? Frequent contact, obviously, is essential, right? Are you in touch? I mean, I can't tell you how many people sign people up and don't even call them to see if they've started on their juice, not even helping them get results. It's ridiculous, really. I mean, if you're a business builder and you're wanting to build a network, I mean, you've got to do the things that networkers do. Three-way calls, right? We've talked about this, webinars, follow-up calls, events. These are all things that strengthen connections. And so network marketing, and I love this book by Robert Kiyosaki. If you don't have it, you've got to get it. It is like essential as far as I'm concerned, the business school for people who like helping people. And, you know, in our particular case, 50% of all revenue that the company brings in are paid out to people like you. Nearly 10 million commission checks have already been paid out. If the company has done almost $1.5 billion in sales, Krista, I'm going to test you here. How many dollars in commission checks have been paid out? A lot, right?
That again?
Oh, so over $700 million in commission checks have been paid out, you know? And so one of the reasons that we have a desire to grow our network and double it to $20 million a year is because that means that $10 million a year in commissions are being paid out to individuals like you and Krista and our upline and everybody involved in our sphere, if you will, that gets paid in our organization, $10 million a year. We've not only helped ourselves, we've helped a lot of people. So our next goal is to pay out in a single year what took us 5 years to pay out previously, basically $1 billion a year. So how to build a vibrant network? Create a connection and find 3 builders and help them find 3. Now, just to give you a heads up, I'm going to show a little video here. I'm going to bring it up here in a second that Terry showed me a while ago that I think is absolutely amazing. And it basically looks like this. This is not the video yet, but this is called the Pay It Forward. And I'm going to show you the trailer here from Pay It Forward because, you know, he's talking about building a network here, isn't he? And what does this look like? If this is you, you found 3 people who found 3 people. It's amazing how this is on the show. So I'm going to bring up a little short clip here that is from YouTube, and I think this is going to come out fine here. And I'm going to show you what network marketing looks like and what a network looks like. So hold on a second here.
What if the world is just a big disappointment? Unless you take the things that you don't like about this world and you flip them upside down, and you can start that today.
That's me, and that's 3 people, and I'm going to help them. Then they do it for 3 other people, then they do it for 3 more. But it has to be something really big, something they can't do by themselves.
Isn't that cool? Isn't it possible to change the world? Is that us or what?
Absolutely.
So that you can get, and one of the reasons that I wanted to show you where this YouTube came from, is that you can have a look at that and see that he's talking about network marketing, calling it pay it forward, right? He was wanting to change the world, and he was showing you how it's done. Find 3 people, help them find 3 people, but it has to be something big, right? It has to be something they can't do on their own. So that's really what we're talking about here. A fantastic little thing to show you. So isn't this what we're talking about here? Find 3 people and help them find 3 people. Now, we've been talking about the power of 3 for 3 years, haven't we? And it's been part of our philosophy, the power of 3. But I actually am starting to see it a little bit differently now, because if you really are thinking about what it is to build a network, it's more than perhaps what we thought. So let me get into what I'm talking about here. I'm going to show you some examples of this. First of all, this is our product, and I was thinking about this week. I think we have the ultimate inside and outside healthcare plan, don't we? You know, I mean, let's think about it. What else do people need? You know, I'm telling you, you don't need any personal care products now. I don't think you need anything. Basically, I mean, I don't use anything else. You know, Glimpse has replaced everything. And I know people think, oh, you know, it seems kind of expensive. I'm telling you, people are spending hundreds of dollars more than they think on personal care products. Like I said to you before, Terry threw buckets of personal care products away, bottles that were not empty. And so it's not like people have something that really works for them and they stick with it. They're constantly looking for something. The ladies are out there buying this, buying that, buying this, looking for something that will produce some performance and actually work. And so there's a lot of money being spent. And when you take then the 365, you know, all the vitamins and minerals that you need are all covered. And then the juice, which is the #1 supplement in the world, an anti-inflammatory. I mean, basically, if you combine those 3 products, I mean, you've got 95% of your bases covered. You don't need anything else. And Krista, I know that, you know, you're enjoying all these different products. It's hard to keep your kids out of the Glimpse and everything, right?
Oh, yeah, and it was so funny. I just want to tell you this quick story. I was taking my youngest daughter to school, and a teacher was walking down the hall. She made a comment about my hair, okay? She really liked my hair, but my daughter had no idea what she was really saying. And what Emma said is, it's Glimpse. To this lady, and this lady's like, what's Glimpse, right?
Yeah. How old is Emma?
Emma's 4.
So she's already starting the marketing for you.
Everything's about Glimpse now in my house, and it's all my daughters talk about. My 11-year-old is using it every day now.
Oh, what a wonderful thing to teach your kids to use something non-toxic from an early age.
Yeah.
So, you know, what we're talking about here now, and I kind of want to shift gears a little bit here about how to build a big, vibrant network, but I need to lay a little bit more groundwork here, because traditionally in Zango, if you were to look at how Zango works, and in fact, let me pull back to an earlier slide here. Hold on a second here. Let's go back to a slide like this, okay? So this is let's say this is the beginning Zango network here, and what this is called width, right? People on your first level is called width, and this is called depth. People down below you is depth. And if you want to maximize the income in Zango, you need to go wide and you need to go deep, right? So we talk about starting with thinking in terms of building 3 by 3 in this particular example here, and then, of course, adding additional legs as this gets more depth. But really starting with 3 is what I really like to do. I like to see everybody start with just 3 people. But we're talking here about 3 people who sponsor 3 people, which is very, very powerful. But traditionally in Zango, honestly, this is the way that it works. It's just about everybody is on a minimum volume requirement, whatever it needs to get the check. What a limited idea that is, right? And so the average person in Zango purchases about $150 a month, right? Which means about half of the people are on 1-case auto ship and half of the people are on 2-case auto ships. And so all of these huge volumes and commissions and money in the company and commissions and organizations have been built basically on what we would call no height, just width and depth. And height the third dimension is what we're going to be talking about here, is adding volume. So rather than minimums of 150, what if the average was $300 volume? And what if we were throwing in some builder packs into this here? So I just wanted to back up and show you what the tradition in Zango has been, as to just get the minimum, which means that everybody's volumes, could be a lot more if they were entering into the third dimension. So we've done $1 billion with two dimensions, which is called width and depth, okay? The third dimension is called height, and that is more volume per distributor. And so with Glimpse, we get a chance to add more volume per distributor, which will greatly increase the checks. For instance, we had a person that reactivated this week, has been only buying a case of juice for I don't know how long, 4 or 5 years, 3 years, had a lot of personal challenges, got that picture and got some phone calls and some connection points from the upline to say, hey, I think you could do well with Glimpse. And this lady took a look at it and put in a $900 order, right? That's called height. So instead of ordering the minimum, a case or 2 cases of juice per month, now we've added a builder pack. She got one of these builder packs, plus she got a complete for herself, and plus she got a case of singles. That's an example of height. And so when we're getting into this, we can create a lot more income if people are producing more volume per person, okay? So this is what we're talking about when we talk about a program, and there's other leaders have been sort of jumping on this because they see the potential here of what's called a 300 PV program. Rather than functioning on minimums, let's at least function with the ability to get the products that we all need every single month, right? So a 300 PV program might look like this. You might get a case of juice, you might get a 365, and you might get a set of Glimpse, right? And so you would, if you got that every month, that would be a 300 PV program, right? Now, I want to try to get into what I call showing you the money here. And this is all tied into this networking example here. And I'm going to explain this in a second here. Because if you had 3 people that you sponsored, and they all came in with 300 PV, you're going to earn 30% on that, right? So 30% would actually, on $900 volume, would give you a $270 power start. So in this particular example, if you had decided that you were going to find 3 people and help them find 3 people, you would actually, by finding those 3 people in your first month, would actually get a power start that almost is equal to the cost of your product, right? And then with our builder program, when the next 3 come in, because you're on a 2-case auto ship or more, you would get 15%. You would also get 15%, another $405 power start when you find 3 who find 3, okay? And so that's what I wanted to point out to you. You find 3 and they find 3, and you would have a power starts of $675. And so this is what it looks like, and this is trying to give you a template in your mind. Nothing ever works exactly like this. But in the pay it forward, he found 3 and helped them find 3. And so you would have 3 members on your first level in that example, 9 on your second level, 27 on your third level, by 3 just finding 3, 81 on the fourth level, 243 on the fifth level. Now you've got $272,000 volume. You got a $3,600 check already here by just taking your network down 5 levels, helping 3 find 3, find 3, find 3. And we're just taking this down to the 7th level. Remember, Zango pays out up to 9 levels when you're a premier, which in this particular case, 7 levels would be a $32,000 check. So really, if we were to think of what we're really trying to create here, we're trying to help people build a business, and we're trying to build a network. That's what we're wanting to do, right? And it's as simple as 3 finding 3 finding 3. But what kind of 3 do we need? We need 3 people that want to build a business, don't we? Okay? And so that is what we're looking to create. Krista, do you have any comments at this point?
No, I think you're doing a great job.
So it's not about selling juice so much. Now, take a look at Audrey's example here. She shared the juice with her uncle a year ago, and now he wants to build a business. And what should be her first desire here for her uncle? What should she be saying to her uncle? There.
What was that?
I don't know. It felt like the lines opened up. So I wanted to show you how a new person should look at this business. You know, let's just get your 3 people. I mean, isn't that simple? Let's find 3 people who want to build a business, and let's show them how to build a business. And so this might be a list of your contacts here. This is your warm market. This is the warm market of a new person just getting started, and this is what you're wanting to create, a network with the people that you know. And so it breaks down to this simple little 5K sponsorship chart. And we've got this in the back office under downloads in becomingapremier.com. And this is a great little chart to show you what it is you're trying to create. And if everybody was to think here about what they really want to create, you just need 3 builders. You need 3 people who see this vision and want to build a business, and help them find 3 people. However, your organization is not going to grow if they're just product users. You're looking for 3 builders who find 3 builders. That's your intention. And this little chart, I think, is going to help you with that, because if you print this out, this is you, and when you find your first builder and help them find 3 people, they become a 1K. When you find your second builder, help them find 3 people, they become a 1K. When you find your third builder, help them find 3 people, they become a 1K. But this will get you to 5K, but to get to the next level, then you've got to take it down to the 3rd level. And if you were just to focus your intention on taking your person down to the 3rd level and helping them find people, you would go a long way to building that network. So that's what it looks like, your worldwide network, connecting people all over the world. And now I wanted to do an update. Just to hold on a second here before we get into this, Krista. Let me see. Any questions you had on the whole idea of what we've talked about here so far?
Okay, the only question I had is when you're talking about working to 5K, are you then saying people are only going to place those people on the first 2 levels, and then as they get to 5K, how is that structure looking? Or do we want to?
I'm glad you asked that, because what we're talking about here, this is called a sponsorship chart, right? Mm-hmm. So you have sponsored 3 people. Those are the people that you've sponsored. However, this is not a placement chart. Mm-hmm. So you could place these people if you wanted. You could place this person underneath this other person if you chose to. But that doesn't have anything to do with whether you've sponsored them or not. The duplication comes, and I think when I look at placement, I knew this question was going to come up right away. Well, what about where do you place people? The point is that I don't think placements are nearly as important as you think. Now, I like to place people below people, but sometimes we use placements as a substitute for what we really want to have happen. So in other words, let me go back here a little bit, because I did want to cover this. Let me go back to this chart here, the 3x3 chart, because that's a good place to talk about placements. Okay, here we are. So in this particular example here, let's say that you decided that you wanted to put Bill under Bob. That's fine, but that doesn't help Bob that much. And I like to place Bills under Bob's, but the only thing that's going to help Bob build a business is for him to sponsor people and bring people in. And I think sometimes in the past, we think we're really helping people by placing people underneath them, but if we don't teach them to sponsor and we don't help Bob sponsor, nothing much happens. So I like to place people because if Bob is a leader, I would like to help Bob build a business. And so in this particular example, you could place your 4th person under Bob as well, or even Sue could go under Bob. But I'm telling you, it does not create a network until Bob sponsors people. That's the key. If you can help Bob sponsor people, then you're creating a network. If you can help Bill sponsor people, then you're creating a network. And so that's our number one priority. The number one thing you can do when you have somebody that declares themselves and says that they would like to build a business is to help them sponsor people, help them find builders, because that's what creates the network. Does that help a little bit?
Yes, absolutely.
But in that example that we're showing you here, we're just talking about sponsors. There's a difference between who you have sponsored and where they're placed. This is a sponsorship chart, which means you've sponsored these three people, and you're helping them get to the next level. And so this is a great little chart to fill out, that once you have a declared builder, then you can help them get to the next level. So let's shift gears here a little bit. I wanted to get into some stuff, and this is what I like this because this is connecting people all over the world. I'm going to skip that picture. Now, Terry Simple System. Krista, one of the reasons I wanted to have you on is because we talked about this last week, a little system for following up with email, right?
Right.
And so a lot of people got all excited about this, and we sold out all of our glimpse here with a couple simple emails. This one, which a lot of people have said, and then the second one, which is this one, right? And now we're going to follow up with additional ones today. But, Krista, I said to you earlier this week that I wanted to take this up a notch, you know? I wanted to shift into another dimension here, if you will, and I challenge you to say, okay, now that we've emailed these people, let's follow up with a phone call.
Right.
And I wanted you to talk about what happened, what you did there, and what developed as a result.
So basically what I did was I looked at the list of people. I have a couple different groups I did send this out to, but I looked at, my warm market, and sort of the top 10 from that list. I hadn't, a couple people had responded, and there was still some people.
Yeah, let's just back up here a little bit, because I remember now the conversation. I mean, you had emailed out an email with
Right.
this one and the follow-up email and got a couple responses, right?
Yeah, I emailed this out, and then I emailed the picture, not right away, it was a couple days later.
Yeah, it's best to space it out a little bit.
And then all of a sudden, I guess it was Tuesday morning, it was like at the same time, I got two people. One lady, she saw the pictures and just was blown away. She's like, if this can work for me, if you can send me a sample, I'm buying it. And so there was a lot of excitement, and I remember I talked to you about that, and then that's when you said, okay, now let's do this. So I said, rather than think about your whole email list, I didn't know how many you originally sent out to. It's kind of intimidating. I said, why don't you get your top 5, and then I said, well, maybe your top 10 of all the people that you emailed this out to, and make a phone call and just ask them. Basically, the instructions I gave you was just to say, did you get my email? Would you like a sample? Exactly. So I actually ended up with 12 people on my list, because these are people I've been thinking about over time, and I'd really love to have them in my business. And what I did was just start calling, listen, did you get my email? Oh, my God, yeah, did you see those pictures? Like, wow, look at that. Isn't that amazing? I get so excited when I talk about the pictures and everything. And then, I also talked to them a little about, can you actually believe? I mean, my passion has always been about chemicals and toxins, and so that's really what I lead with. Look, do you actually know what's in the products you're using? Why don't you just try? You've got to try this. I'm telling you, you just got to try it. I noticed within 4 days, my skin, the texture was starting to change, and so I just told a little bit about my story, what I'm experiencing so far. I talk a tiny bit about the toxins. I don't get into all the different ingredients, but I want them to be aware. I think it's so important for our future and my children's, everyone's future, to be natural. And so, everybody's like, yeah, absolutely. Send me a sample. So what's your skin type? Okay, I'm getting it out for you today, and you just have to create that urgency, and that excitement comes, and then, you've got to follow up. And I think, too, with these emails, I mean, we're really wanting to connect with each individual. So, Art was just explaining about making connections. you know, it's one thing to send out a group email, but now you want to personally connect with each individual, you know,
Right.
so they know that, okay, she's like really thinking of me. This isn't just a group thing. You know, it becomes a different, it just takes it up a notch, yeah.
Yeah, so I like that, you know, because now, I mean, we're talking long distance here.
Yes.
I mean, this is something that you don't have to necessarily get together with people. And so it's like you've sent the email, you're following up with a simple phone call, heighten their interest, sending out a sample, and now, you know, you can follow up on the sample and hopefully take it to the next level, right?
Exactly.
So how many samples did you get out? 3?
So I just have another one today. This morning, another girl who's actually local. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm still working on my list.
Yeah, you're still working on your list. Now, also out of this, directly or a little bit indirectly, you actually booked a demo in yesterday, right?
I did. I actually had it scheduled for last week, and we had to reschedule. And actually, it's kind of funny. I took my daughter with me because she wasn't in school for the afternoon, my youngest daughter, and we made a play date out of it. We did a play date with our kids because her daughter's the same age.
Oh, cool.
I brought all my Glimps with me, and I spent about an hour and a half there, and we went through the entire system. Now, this friend of mine was an esthetician, so she does know about skin. But what I found out is, first of all, she's not aware of a lot. I mean, she's maybe aware of it because they were taught it in school years ago when she was studying, but she really didn't know as much. And like you and I, you know, just finding out a few months ago about all these other ingredients we didn't know of.
Right, yeah.
And I just said, look, you might think, you know, you're using something natural, but just like me, I didn't even realize it wasn't natural until I had more knowledge. She was blown away by the pictures. I had printed out photos of Grace and then also photos of the rosacea lady. And she was just amazed. But the greatest part was I told her, as soon as we sat down, before I did anything, I said, look, this is what you're going to probably experience, and this is why. And I wanted her to know that she already had a bit of a red face, so I knew she was going to be a great test to this with the flushing, because I knew she was going to flush big time. I could just tell. So I said, look, this is what's going to happen. And do you know, she was so excited? Like, she couldn't believe it. She kept going and looking in the mirror. Oh, my God. And look, and we'd point out where we see the most flushing was actually in some of her problem areas, which I really feel like Glimpse was really going to work on those specific areas. And then what we did was we did one side with System 1 because she had said she was dry. 20 minutes later, I said, because she said, there's no way, Krista, you can leave without doing the other side now, right? I said, well, let's do this. Let's do the other side with System 2. You know, I really want you to try this gel cleanser because I just love it, and I love it for my kids. And so we did. We did the other side with the other system. And then it was like, well, which one do I get? And so, of course, that's where, you know, she asked me, how does it all work? I said, okay, you got System 1 or System 2. Now we also offer the complete system. And this is what I use because I like to use, you know, the different systems in the morning and the night. And so she was just totally sold on it. She bought it all right away, and she was so excited when I left and ready to share it, you know. Oh, gosh, you got to leave me some more stuff because I want to tell my mom about this. So.
Yeah, and her mom's a realtor or something too, right?
Yeah, and her mom's a realtor. So, you know, and she's been on my top list for several months. I've sort of been planting little seeds along the way, and then, you know, finally now Glimpse is here. You got to try this. Still there, Art?
I just wanted to show something here. I'm going to bring up a lot of people are asking questions. I want to show you a couple new pictures that have come in this week that we're going to be sending out an email on here. But first of all, this is the lady, Krista, fantastic job on that. And I know this was the email. People are asking, you know, where are these emails? Where are these stories? These are all on my-glimpse.com. You can download this, copy this, bring it into your address book under the results page. And in fact, we had some people saying, I don't know if that's the same lady or not. I mean, is that real, that Martha Levine? And this is actually one of her friends at convention took this picture on her cell phone at convention. Martha was quite a stir at convention. And of course, it's not nearly as dramatic. But if you look closely, you will see all of these wrinkles on this side of the face over here. And you just, there's none over here other than this one crease, which you see there, right? And so this is what she looks like face on at convention. And it's, like I said, you can definitely see how much cleaner and smoother. So that's what she really looks like. And Terry, of course, verified the story before we put it up. But here's another great story, Kristen. You can relate to this. I know you've had some skin conditions that have healed. And this is just a simple little acne problem on Lindsay Johnson, Tommy's wife. And I never even noticed before, but you can see all of these bumps on her forehead. And that's what she looks like 2 months later at convention. And she is excited. And
wow.
So that's an amazing change for her. Just, do you know anybody with skin problems, you see? Now, here is what this looks like at my-glimpse. And so everybody keeps asking me, Art, where are these pictures? Where are these pictures? Every story that we get, all the pictures that we get, they go under the results tab at my-glimpse. And then there's Martha Levine's before and after. And we've just added Lindsay Johnson's are on there. And eventually we're going to maybe put these into PDF files that people can download when we upgrade our website. This is her story here after that. There's Gord Smith's results, right? The man with psoriasis for 14 years. We've got Grace Dick's results down here, our famous results, right? And this is Vanessa's story from last week, and the text of it is down below, right? So we've got all these stories. We've uploaded. Here's the Susan's rosacea flare-up is a link right here. People asking about that. One-stop shopping, guys. Looking for a story, looking for pictures, just go to my-glimpse. There it is right there. We've also uploaded some new stories here. Whoops. Here's a new story.
GlimpseStories.com too, right?
Yeah, sorry, yes. You can go directly to there with GlimpseStories.com. Thanks, I forgot about that. Yeah, that's a direct link. So you can send people right there. Here's from Sandy Bennett this week. Wow, this gel sure is powerful product. Talk about a dime size of my sponge scrubber. She's always had dry skin after showering it, always slather on the Melaleuca cream. Now she doesn't need any other cream, right? Myrna Liddell, new stories are up here. We're going to turn this into a whole portfolio of stories, before and after pictures. Yes, all at Glimpse Stories, or you can go to my-glimpse and hit the result tab, and it's all up there. So stories are powerful here, and that's where you go to access all of these stories. We're going to send out an email as part of our Simple System upgrade, because that's what Krista basically did, is took Terry's Simple System and took it up a notch by following up with phone calls to the people that she was emailing to. So simple. Did you get my email? Would you like a sample? And yes, I know the company's out of samples right now, but they're coming in, and they could be within a couple of weeks. If you don't have samples right now, you won't be able to offer that. They came, and all of the people that were smart enough to order pre-launch packages all got free samples, and so Krista has samples that she's working with. If you don't have them, well, you'll have to wait until you get them, right? But they will have samples. Basically, the samples were never intended to go in the builder packs. And so that was a last-minute idea, and that's why they've temporarily run out. But for those of you that were smart and got your pre-launch orders like Krista, you should be all working with these samples and with the DVD and taking that up a notch.
Can I just add something about this? for those of you who aren't doing the parties or want to do the system or are selling kits, one thing that I think is really powerful and what I did is when I sold that kit this week, I brought Zango samples with me. She's going on and on about her kids being sick all the time, right? Like, that's how I got involved with Zango.
Right.
And so when I left, I said, oh, here, by the way, here's our juice. So I didn't talk a lot about the juice, but I did tell her, and she knew Zango was our first product. So I left her with a sample of the juice. Now, another lady I talked with this morning, who I'm dropping off an info pack and a sample for, is she's talking about these injections she's taking for her arthritis.
Right.
And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, so I'm going to put a Zango sample in with her glimpse as well. So you really want to work, both ends.
Yeah, I mean, they're feeding each other. And so when you get somebody, and this is what we're trying to get across here, that when you're ready to upgrade that customer to a distributor, why not upgrade them to the whole product line, right? And increase into the third dimension. If you've got somebody that's just doing a case of juice and they don't have the glimpse, I mean, you're missing out on this whole other income stream here. If you've got somebody just on the glimpse and not on a case of juice, then they're covering the outside and they're not covering the inside. I'm telling you, this is the whole package here. Now, I believe this, and if you want to check this, but I believe now you can go into your back office at myzango.com and change your product mix on your own. I don't believe you can cancel your ADP, but if you click on ADP, you can change your product mix. So you could sign up for a 300 PV per month, but next month comes and you've still got some glimpse left and you don't want to retail it, but you need an extra case of juice.
Right.
So next month you get a case of juice and you can alternate and rotate down whatever it is you're wanting there.
Yeah, or you can get your singles or whatever.
Yeah, and like that lady today, guys, follow up. You're building a network here. And this particular lady, it's partly her fault. I mean, she hasn't wanted to connect. Some people don't want to connect to your network. But that doesn't mean you give up, right? She didn't even know there were singles available. And every time she would go away, she'd run out of juice because she couldn't take the bottles on the airplane, and she would start to feel bad. Now she's got singles, right? Well, that comes from follow-up. You're building a network here, guys, and so the network requires nurturing. It requires follow-up. Now, here's the other thing I've seen with people building networks. They disconnect from their downline. Wow, think about why would you disconnect from your network? Don't disconnect from your network. I don't care what is going on. Keep connected with your network. You never know what can happen. It's one of your downline distributors that is doing nothing for a year could be a premier the following year if you keep connected. But if you don't follow up, you don't keep the connection going, you don't get them on webinars, you don't get them on three-way calls, you don't introduce them to your upline, you haven't really created a network. And that was the main topic that I wanted to get forward today. Anything else, Krista, before we close up the call?
Could I just mention something quickly about the glimpse and using it on children? Because I know there's been a lot of questions out there about this.
Okay.
You don't need to use the whole system on children and teenagers. They don't need all 4 steps, and you have to be really careful. If it's a skin condition, my daughter had an allergic reaction to candy, the dye they put in particular candies, and her whole face went red all of a sudden, and she gets hives. It comes out as hives, and it always comes out when it does happen, because it's happened a few times, is it comes out on the inside of her legs. And so what I did was I just took the cream, or you can use the lotion, and I mixed it with a tiny bit of serum, mixed it all together really well, and then just put it all on the inside of her legs. And by the next morning, it was completely gone.
Wow.
But I know for people like teenagers who have acne problems, like you know, they don't need to use the whole system, and I think it might be too much for them to use the whole system. So,
well, you know, everybody's different, right? And so you've got to experiment a little bit.
yeah.
You know, you've got to try different things with people, and everybody is going to have to just try and troubleshoot a little bit what works, and, you know,
right.
kind of use your intuition sometimes. So great tips. Thank you, Krista. This is my vision. See, there's a worldwide network of Zango distributors all working together for a common goals, common intents. This is what I vision in the morning many times, Art and Terry's worldwide network. And I see us going around the world and changing the world. We're bringing hope to the world, bringing health to the world, working together with different races, religions, mindsets, ages, all for common goals, all with caring intent, all wanting to make a difference in the world. And so, you know, add some visioning to your morning work when you're visioning what it is you want. See some builders coming into your business that want to create builders, and think about helping your people find 3 people as a good mindset to begin with. We've still got a few, just to close up, there's a few Glimpse launch tours left. These have been sweeping the country. Coming up next week, we got Minneapolis, December 1st, Chicago, December 2nd, Phoenix, December 4th, Las Vegas, December 6th, and Lehigh, Utah, December 11th. Okay, thanks, Krista. Appreciate you helping out today.
Thanks for having me on.
Let's open up the line so that we can thank Krista and thank all of you. Wish you all a happy Thanksgiving, and let's do some pay it forward this week. Thanks, everybody.